Welcome back to Common Sense Unplugged, where we unplug from the noise, plug into the facts, and ask the questions everybody else keeps dancing around. I'm Bolton Battle.
I'm Logic. America has always called itself a refuge for people running from danger. But right now, I've got a question. What happens when America seems to have two different doors? Because hundreds of thousands of Haitians have been living in this country under temporary protected status, TPS. Now that protection is being terminated.
Meanwhile, the United States has created a special refugee pathway prioritizing Afrikaners from South Africa who are white. So today we're asking, who gets America's protection and who gets told to leave?
First, Bolton, we've got to make one distinction. Haitians under TPS and South Africans entering as refugees are technically under different immigration programs. TPS lets people already in America temporarily remain because conditions back home make returning unsafe. Refugee status allows qualifying people facing persecution to enter the United States.
Fair enough, different programs. But here's where common sense starts scratching its head. You're telling Haitians their temporary protection is ending, while Haiti is still dealing with armed gangs, kidnappings, political instability, displacement, hunger, and broken infrastructure. What exactly are these families supposed to return to? And we're not talking about people who just arrived yesterday. Many TPS holders have been here for years. They've built families, they work, they pay taxes. Some have American-born children. Ending TPS can mean losing legal work authorization and protection from deportation.
That's the part that gets buried under the word temporary. On paper, somebody loses a temporary immigration classification. In real life, a father loses his job. A mother doesn't know whether she'll be here next month. A child comes home from school wondering whether mom or dad might disappear. That's not paperwork. That's a family.
Now let's cross the Atlantic, South Africa. The Trump administration says white Afrikaners face racial discrimination and threats, including concerns surrounding land policy and violence. And America has opened a refugee pathway specifically prioritizing them.
I have no problem protecting somebody who's genuinely being persecuted. Black, white, yellow, brown, purple with gold stripes. Human suffering is human suffering.
Bingo. Because if America looks at one group and says, your situation is dangerous, come in, but looks at Haitians and says, your protection is over, go back, then people have every right to examine the standards being used, especially when Haiti remains extraordinarily unstable.
Exactly. So the question shouldn't be, why help white South Africans? The better question is, are we applying the same humanitarian standard to everybody?
Now here's where we have to be careful. The racial contrast alone doesn't prove that every decision was made because of race. Different statutes, different programs, different legal circumstances, agreed. But history also teaches us something. When government policy produces dramatically different outcomes between groups, citizens have every right to ask why. That's not automatically accusing everybody of racism.
That's accountability. And that's where the conversation gets bigger than Haiti and South Africa. Who qualifies for America's compassion? Who gets described as persecuted? Who gets described as illegal? Who gets expedited? Who gets deported? Those words have consequences. Sometimes the biggest story isn't what's written on the door. It's who the door opens for.
But here's something I don't want this episode to miss. Haitian families are not standing alone. Organizations are fighting, organizing, providing legal help, educating families, and pushing lawmakers. One major organization is the Haitian Bridge Alliance. They're providing humanitarian, legal, and social services while advocating for Haitian immigrants and other black migrants. They're also helping families understand their rights and navigate what's happening with TPS. Then there's the National TPS Alliance, a grassroots organization representing TPS communities from multiple countries. They're advocating for legislative and administrative protections that would allow TPS holders to remain legally in the United States. And we're seeing immigration attorneys, churches, community organizations, labor advocates, Haitian American organizations, elected officials, and ordinary neighbors stepping forward. That's important.
They're also helping families understand their rights and navigate what's happening with TPS.
Then there's the National TPS Alliance, a grassroots organization representing TPS communities from multiple countries. They're advocating for legislative and administrative protections that would allow TPS holders to remain legally in the United States. And we're seeing immigration attorneys, churches, community organizations, labor advocates, Haitian American organizations, elected officials, and ordinary neighbors stepping forward. That's important.
Because support isn't only somebody standing at a protest holding a sign. Support can mean legal representation, know your rights education, helping someone understand another immigration option, calling senators, helping families prepare documents, providing food, helping somebody who's suddenly lost authorization to work, and sometimes, just making sure a frightened family knows they're not alone. And there's another uncomfortable truth. TPS was never supposed to become America's permanent immigration solution. Congress has repeatedly allowed presidents and courts to fight over temporary programs instead of creating durable pathways for people who've lived here legally for years.
And that's the trap. Temporary becomes 5 years, 5 becomes 10. People build careers, children are born, mortgages get signed, businesses get open, communities get built. Then Washington changes direction. And suddenly somebody's entire life has an expiration date. That's not immigration policy operating on a spreadsheet anymore. That's human beings living underneath government decisions.
So here's the question we're leaving on the table. If America believes Afrikaners deserve protection because returning to their circumstances could expose them to persecution, then shouldn't Haitian families receive an equally serious humanitarian evaluation before their return to a country suffering extraordinary violence and political instability? Protecting one vulnerable population doesn't require abandoning another. That's the part people keep forgetting. Compassion isn't a pie. Giving somebody a slice doesn't mean somebody else has to starve.
Exactly. Maybe the question isn't whether America should open its doors. Maybe it's whether justice should recognize the person knocking before it decides which door to open. This is Bolton Battle.
And I'm Logic.
And this is Common Sense Unplugged, where we don't tell you what to think. We just make sure you're thinking. One love.
Peace out.